Good morning. And here we are, finally. Okay, so first of all, uh, let me, let me uh, check if the folder where you can upload homeworks works. And if not, I will create a new folder just for you. Okay, let me see. Yes, I I need to create a new folder so that uh, good morning first of all, and let me create a new folder that you can use in order to upload next homeworks. So next homework will be homework number 6 that I will give you today. So 3ds Wednesday 9 to 11 homework number 6. That would be fantastic. And this is first. Then I will place it into the, okay, let me open for a second the chat from the laptop so that I will paste Marco here. Okay, and I will paste the link in here. Why it is so slow? New folder. Wait a second, because internet is going a little bit too slow. New folder. Yes, 3ds. Homework 6. Wednesday 9 to 11. Okay, there we go. So, share. Then is perfect. Copy this link. And I will put it into the chat. So, I'm placing this into the chat. Also, this link will be in the video description. And when I will finish live stream, I will also leave the video into the channel, and I will put this link into the video description so that I will give you at the end of this lesson your next homework. And when you will complete your homework, you just reach this link and you will be able to upload your next unbelievable file. Okay, finish. So let's go to the 3ds Max class, And today we need to start something that is extremely important. That is a um, complex family of tools in 3ds Max that is called Editable Poly. And let's see if this works so that I can write in here. And I will show you that we will use something that is a um, that is called Edit Poly Modifier in order to create an editable poly. So, in general, in 3ds Max today, we will talk about editable poly. But most important thing that we are going to do will be we will focus our attention on how to start and how to create an editable poly. And for this reason, main thing that we are going to do will be, let me change the color, we will use a modifier that we can apply to whatever 3D object we have selected, and the modifier is called Edit Poly. And we will discover in a second what this modifier does to our geometries, to our 3D object. So, see this. First of all, we can apply the modifier that is called Edit Poly to whatever is a 3D object. So it doesn't matter how you create your 3D object. It can be, we will start like this, a simple box. It can be spheres, but it can be also whatever other object you have created with tools that we have explored in our previous weeks. So if we have made a proboolean, if we have a line that has been extruded, or if we have used loft, no matter, it has to be just a three-dimensional object, and we can apply the modifier called Edit Poly. What I want to show you is one extremely simple adjustment that you should do in your viewport just before start using Edit Poly, and you will notice why. Look, if I create a box, if I make a box and I apply the modifier that is called Edit Poly, see this. I go select my box, I go to the Modify tab, and with my box selected, I apply a modifier that you will see here. I apply this modifier that is called Edit Poly. What happens when we select Edit Poly is this. Look, we basically turn on the possibility that we have to modify our box, not more by selecting parameters like width, height, or length. But once that we apply Edit Poly, you may notice that down here we have 5 green symbols, and they really remind symbols that we have already seen when we have studied the editable spline. And believe it or not, this is exactly what happens to our box, because if you notice here, we have our first symbol that looks like 3 dots. And what this does is basically we are able to select vertices of our box. And this, if we click this button here, then next to it there is another button that has a triangle shape, that is this one. And what happens if we select that? Basically, what happens will be that we will be able to select edges of our box. We will skip these and these 2 buttons for today, because I will divide this class into 2 lessons. And if we select, let's change the color. If we select this button here, that is called Polygon, what happens is that we will be able to select entire faces of our selected geometry. And before going in depth into the explanation of this particular modifier that is extremely important, it really allows you to create most of the shapes that you can have in mind, I want to show you one simple problem, that is this. Until we work with a box, it is extremely easy to understand that, let's say, a vertex is here or here, and it is extremely easy to understand that an edge is here or there. But where is the problem? Problem comes when your object is a bit more complex. And I don't mean something extremely complex, but then look here. If I create a sphere, and sphere is sphere is a 3D object, I can apply Edit Poly as well. So where is my main problem? My main problem is that sphere has a rounded surface, and I don't know, in all over a round surface, I don't know where vertices or edges or polygons are. There could be a vertex here, there could be a vertex there, here, I don't know. So before using Edit Poly, see which particular aspect of your viewport you must adjust to make your life easier. That is this. You may see in your viewport, you may see this option here that is called default shading. And what you have to do is you have to go there with your mouse. You have to left click over default shading. Take care, it is left click. And in the options that appear here, the one that we must enable for sure, the one that is crucial to work with Edit Poly, is this one, the one that is called Edged Faces. So I just left click. Once that and let me know in the chat if you can find these. So I will show you again. That is, first you left click here where you see, technically you see default shading. You left click so that you open this menu, and the option you must, oops, it's gone. The option you must click is called Edged Faces. Okay? Let me know if you can enable these. Let's see if we have some answer into the chat. Perfect. Also, just to let you know, if I look down sometimes or I look like I'm stuck, it's just because down here I have my phone with the as a secondary display, so with the chat going on, and I just read down there if you have written me messages and stuff like this. So let's move on. And I was saying this. Now that we have enabled edged faces, look how simple and easy to be read becomes working even with complex surfaces, because now just by enabling that simple option, we can immediately understand that these are edges of the sphere, and we can immediately see that all of these will be vertices of the sphere. So just by enabling this simple option, we can better understand how our geometry works, and we will be able to, let me read this, we will be able to start working with Edit Poly. So let's apply Edit Poly. So let me start again, just by deleting everything, and I will start using Edit Poly modifier with a very simple box to let you understand what the modifier actually does. And it is this. We select the box, then we go to the Modify tab, then we apply Edit Poly, this modifier here, Edit Poly, boom. And see what we have to do now. That is extremely interesting. If we now select our first editing button, this one, that is vertices, what happens will be this. This button will remain in blue, and now that this is highlighted in blue, you can also notice that vertices of my box are also having a small blue dot on top of them. And this is important simply because now, first simple thing that we can do to our vertices is we can select move into the main toolbar. We can select at least one vertex, and we can see that we are able now to move our selected vertex. As well as selecting one vertex, we can select more than one. Let's say I've selected 3 vertices right now, and I can start by moving them in order to deform my box, like I'm sculpting the box, or is that like having a piece of clay and you can start pushing, pulling, and then we will see more complex operations. But a very good example is that now our object looks like it is turning into clay and we can manipulate. Most important thing about Edit Poly modifier is that selecting these different editing modes. So when we select vertex, or we select edges, or we select polygons, and today we will focus, we will explain these 3 methods only. What really happens is we don't only select different objects, so we select edges or polygons. We make these choices mostly because, according to which specific editing mode we select, Edit Poly modifier will enable certain tools that can be used only when we use vertex, only when we use edge, only when we use polygon. Basically, again, just to make an example, this reminds exactly when we have studied editable spline. So, do you remember we have seen that if we select vertex, we can use fillet. If we can select segment, we can make divide, then outline, and so on and so on. This is the same exact concept, just applied into 3 dimensions and not more into a 2-dimensional line. And one of most common problems of using Edit Poly modifier is that this particular tool in 3ds Max has so many different options that studying them in one lesson only will be basically impossible. Whenever we select one of our modes, so vertex, edges, or polygon, if you scroll down the menu of Edit Poly modifier, believe it or not, you will see a list of tools that are available in that specific mode. When you change to edges, and again, you scroll down the menu, you will have another completely different list of tools, and so on and so on. And when you select polygons, and then you scroll down, again, you will notice that you have 100 at least of different tools that you can use just with polygons. So, in order to make Edit Poly a little bit easier to be used and to start using to make real objects, so things that you can immediately use in your project, today I've decided we will see only 4 tools that we can use in combination with Edit Poly. Just 4. Or maybe, if they are too much, we will limit to 3. But they are extremely important. I will explain them in depth, and there will be this. Look, we will see into edge. Let me write. Let me write here, and with another color. So in edge editing mode, we will see only one tool today. There is a tool that is called Connect. And we will see in a second what it does. Instead, into Polygon editing mode, we should see three tools. Let's see how far we can go, but at least two of them are important. And tools that we will see into Polygon mode are called Extrude, and this is Extrude Polygon, so it has same name that we have already studied, but now this is inside Edit Poly. Then we will see Inset Edit tool, and if we have time, I hope, we will also see a tool that is called Bridge. And believe it or not, just with these four tools, we will be able to create a lot of complex things. So let's start by doing this. First tool that I want to show you is called Connect. And you can find Connect only if you first click Edge editing mode, that is this button here. What Connect does is basically it creates new edges inside your geometry in order to have more flexibility in deforming your selected object. How it works is very simple. What you have to do is you have to select two opposite edges first. So by holding Control in your keyboard, I will select these two edges. And you can see that they are opposite edges. So one is here and one is on the opposite side. And once that I have selected these two edges, what I have to do is simply I have to scroll down a little bit my Edit Poly menu till I will find that button that is called Connect, and you can find it here. Okay? When you find Connect, now what you have to do is you need to check one extremely important thing that I will repeat for all this lesson, that is, next to Connect, so next to the button that is called Connect, you can find a smaller button. Oops, I deleted. Let me make it better. You can find this smaller button next to Connect. And whenever we will use Edit Poly features, remember, we don't click the button that has the name of the tool, but we click that tiny little symbol that is this here in order to open settings for that specific tool. So when I say I click connect, remember I don't click the button that is connect, but I click instead this little thing that is settings for connect. Okay? And this is extremely important. Then let's click. So I click settings and you will see this floating menu appearing. I just move it a little bit so that we see what we are doing. By selecting those two first opposite edges and by clicking connect, connect allows us to create a new edge that is actually connecting my selected edges. Into settings, first parameter that we can notice is that there is this number here that is number 1, and what this number means is how many new edges we want in order to connect our selected edges. So remember, we have started by selecting these, by selecting that, and now, only because connect as the number 1, now we are about to create one new edge. If we want, we can simply increase this number, and we will notice that between our previously selected edges, we can create as many new edges that we want. And we can modify this parameter as well as other parameters that I will show you in a second. But we can modify these parameters as many times that we want, and only when we are happy with the result, we can click this lower button here, the one that has a check sign, to really apply this adjustment to our box. So I just click here. Boom! And now, if I just click outside, I will see that my box has all these new additional edges. And reason why I want to do this is simply because maybe now I can start by moving up this or moving it down. I can do the same thing with these. So basically, by adding new edges, I am able to start by manipulating my geometry with a lot more control and by adding details to the shape that I'm modeling. Okay? Then, let me show you just another example here. But I want to delete these so that I will start with another box. And I will make an example that you may remember, that is something that you have already seen along my homeworks. So check this. Do you remember homework 1, we have, you have to do a house by making a box, by putting a cylinder on top, by making a cylinder with 3 sides, and so on and so on. But check how easy may become using Edit Poly to create that simple little house in this way. Look, I make a box, I click Edit Poly, and I select Edge Editing Mode here. Okay? Then what I do is I select this top left edge. By using Control, I select top right edge, and with these two selected edges, I scroll down my Edit Poly menu and I click Settings next to Connect. And believe it or not, I just need to create one edge, and I'm happy with this. I will simply click OK now. So why I have added this edge? Simply because I want to make shape of the house, and just to give you a little hint, the shape of the house is basically something that will look like this. And now I can do it simply because by adding that simple extra edge on top, I can select it and I can move this vertex up. So wait a second. Let me answer here a couple of messages. Perfect. I'm back. So by adding that extra edge, we have this possibility. So we can basically split top face, and by moving it up, boom, we will create that little house that was, look at that, how pretty it is. That was our first phenomenal homework, just made in a completely different way. That, full disclaimer, is not more correct. It is just another way to approach using 3ds Max. And then, if this is fine, so if this works, first of all, let me tell you if you want to see this again, because if not, I can show you now tools that we need to learn into Polygon editing modes, so that I can explain Extrude, Inset, and if we have time, Bridge. So, let me know. Give me a proof that you are there. And here there is my little chat screen. Let me see. Is there any vital sign? All good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, perfect. So let's move to Polygon and let's see what happens here, because the thing becomes a little bit more complex. So first of all, I click Polygon, and now with polygons I can select these items on my geometry. And let's say I start by selecting this particular face. Now, first tool that I want to show you is the one that is called Extrude, that has a lot of tiny, interesting parameters that we need to understand. But again, when I say that we see Extrude, remember that we click Settings next to Extrude. Okay? So I will repeat a couple of more times, but when I simply say, I'll show you Extrude, I show you Inset, I show you whatever else, remember that we click Settings next to Extrude. Later we will see Settings next to Inset, and if we have time, Settings next to Bridge. This is just to remind you. And now, let's see. Let's see what Extrude does. I click Settings next to Extrude, and I have this simple dialog box. In here, I have my main parameter, the one that has the number that right now is 0. That number is the amount of extrusion. And that number can be it can be modified as you want, but it can be positive if you want your polygon to go outside your geometry. Later on, we will see that it can be also negative if you need instead to push the polygon inside your object. So, first thing first that I will do is I will left click here where I see these arrows, and I left click and drag up, and this is extruding a polygon on an editable poly. So I basically use that polygon as a shape, and I extrude the polygon in a direction that is perpendicular to the face of the polygon. So when I select another face that has another orientation, so here I click OK for now, but if I select another face that is this one, what happens is it won't be extruded on same direction that I've used it before, but when I click extrude, you will see that the direction of my extrusion changes, and the direction will always depend on the orientation of my selection. And look, I select another face, this one, and again you will notice this particular behavior. So when I have selected this face, the extrusion direction was perpendicular to this face. When I've selected this one here, the extrusion was going up like that. When I have selected this face, the extrusion went to this direction here. This particular direction is always perpendicular to the polygon that we select. And This basically works so easily, so in such a simple way, simply when we select one polygon at time. And what happens instead if we select more than one polygon? And this is when Extrude tool inside the Edit Poly starts by becoming a little bit more complex, but just a little. Because if I select Extrude here, and I select this polygon and I click Control and I select this polygon or even this one, you will notice something that is right now they are going in their original directions. But if I start by selecting a lot of polygons, and especially here, you may notice something that starts by being weird. And, oh, wow, this view is perfect. Because you can notice that some polygons are extruded with right direction, but this polygon here and this polygon here, instead of being extruded along this and that, they are extruded along this direction. And I'm explaining this whole concept of direction simply because into the extrude settings, this particular parameter changes direction and the way that extrude works. And by default, this parameter starts always by being called extrude by group, and extrude by group can give you these results. So it can bend sometimes the direction of your extrusion, but if you need, you can change this parameter. So you can set, instead of extrude by group, you can click here and you can use extrude by local and see the difference. You will notice that now direction is exactly the one that we may expect. But you can notice again something interesting, that is, when I use extrude here, my polygons are detached. But if I use extrude in here, my polygons are attached. This is what local parameter does. But if I want also to detach these polygons, I can click extrude by polygon. And now this is how my extrude behaves. Okay? In order to let you understand a lot better the difference between extrude by group, extrude by local, and extrude by polygon, I will make immediately another example just by creating an additional object that would be the sphere. So, check this. I make a sphere, and you can see that the sphere is pretty interesting because the sphere has all polygons with completely different directions. So what I will do now is this. I will apply to the sphere Edit Poly. I select Polygon, and I will repeat for 3 groups of polygons. I will repeat same operation, that is applying extrude, and you will notice a big difference in using extrude by group, extrude by local, extrude by polygon. Check this. Oops. So I select, let's say, this group of polygon, and to select all these faces I am simply holding Control key on my keyboard, and I am clicking inside each polygon that I want to select. So see this, I select these 16, yes, 16 polygons. Then I click Settings next to Extrude. Again, by default, you will notice that Extrude is always selected Extrude by group. So I will extrude these, and I can also write a number, let's say 25, so that I will 50, so that I will use same value for all 3 examples, and I press OK. This does this simple result, that is, you may notice that all my polygons together have been extruded along same exact direction, that is this direction here. And you can notice that none of my polygon was perpendicular to this. So this was slightly angled, this slightly angled, this and this slightly angled. So by group means that 3ds Max finds the average in between all these directions, and it extrudes all selected polygons along one average direction. Let's select other 16 polygons here. So I select 1, 2, 3, 4, this, and this. So basically, just next to my previous selection, I select exact same group of polygons, but now I click Extrude, but remember, I click Settings next to Extrude. But now I will change, instead of group, I use local normal, and this will be my result. So each polygon has been extruded along its own perpendicular direction, but because my polygons were selected in the same continuous way, when they are extruded, they are also connected to each other. Last but not least is if I select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, blah, 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 16 here, 16. Now I click Settings. Oops, wait a second. I just need these 16. And I click extrude, but I click settings. Now I change, instead of local, I click extrude by polygon, and this would be the difference. So each polygon has been extruded along its direction, but my polygons are one next to each other into the selection, but by clicking by extrude by polygon, they are extruded like independent polygons, and they have this final result. Okay, so just to show you all these modes, just to remember, look, this is no, this one. This is extrude by group. This instead is extrude by local, and this is extrude by polygon. Okay, so there is not basically right or wrong mode to be used when you use polygon. You just need to find the one that is more correct according to which particular shape you need to create at the end. So sometimes we may need this, sometimes we may need that, sometimes this one. Okay, but this is extremely important to understand that extrude can be used in slightly different ways. Is that clear? Is it okay? Let me know. I'm waiting. I'm reading the chat. Perfect. So let's see. Let's see a few more tools. I will show you inset and bridge because we should have enough time. And let me show you inset first. That is extremely useful, and it is a tool that it works perfectly in combination with extrude. So let's see this. Inset is, so let me select polygon. Inset is this tool here. It is on the right of extrude. What inset does is basically it creates an offset of your polygons, and basically it works like this. Look, you start by selecting a polygon, then you click settings next to inset, and we'll just move settings here so that you can see better. And if you increase this parameter, the one that is with the number, this is what you obtain. Look. So inside your selected polygon, you will notice that you are going to create an offset, and basically according to the shape that your starting polygon has, you will obtain exactly a similar polygon inside your starting one. So mine was a square, and when I click OK, I obtain a little square in here. But if I select this kind of deformed rectangle and I click Inset, look, I get, again, similar shape, but smaller. So I offset the polygon inside my selection. What is interesting is that even Inset has, like Extrude, two main options. There are, when I select, and again, they are useful to be used only when you select more than one polygon. So, if you select more than one polygon, and let me select this kind of T-shaped group of polygons. When I click Inset, even above Inset, you may notice this particular, oops, sorry, it's gone. Again, select Inset. Wait. Okay. I was saying, when you select Inset, what you can see is that even on top of the Inset amount, you can find this particular parameter that has the exact same symbol that we have seen into Extrude tool, because even Inset works or by group. That is exactly what is going on here. And if you notice, because my starting selection is this one, the entire group of offset polygons is having this shape here. This is Inset by group. But if you want, and right now I will click OK. But if you want, even if you select more than one polygon at the same time, you can also use Inset. You change the option, instead of group, there is only by polygon. And in this way, all of your selected polygons will be inset, or let's say you create an offset of them, but they will be managed by, like they are just completely independent polygons. And then you can click OK. Okay? Can you see the difference in between using one method and the other? Say yes. I'm waiting. Awesome. So now, let me show you. Last tool, so that after last tool, that is bridge, I will just make only examples, plus I will give you your homework number 6, that would be I mean, I have no words to explain it. It would be too cool. So wait a second. But last tool that I want to show you is called Bridge. And let me explain first what Bridge does. Let's see if I can find an easy way to show you. Here, look. Check this. In here, you may notice that there are polygons that are facing each other. So I select this other Edit Poly, and I select polygons. Polygons that I'm interested in order to use Bridge are this, control, this. So, if you notice, these two polygons have their direction. I mean, they are not parallel, but their perpendicular direction will basically intersect at a certain point. So, what Bridge does is simply this. If you have polygons that have more or less their direction, they are facing each other, what Bridge does is it creates that missing volume that is in between my selected polygons. So, by using Bridge between these two polygons, believe it or not, I will create this missing piece in between. Ready for this? Look, I select these two facing polygons. I scroll down my Edit Poly modifier. Then I click Bridge, and again I click Settings next to Bridge. Bridge has a billions of settings. We will see only more important parameters. But this is what Bridge does by default. Main parameters into Bridge are just this one first, that is segment. Because if you want, inside your Bridge, and we will see this in a more realistic example, if you need, you can create more segments if you need to have later on more control on your Bridge, and you want simply to save time and you don't want to make the Bridge, then use connect and so on and so on. So inside Bridge you have this simple feature. Okay? So look here. So this is what Bridge does, and let me show you an example when you may need to use Bridge. So I will delete all these random shapes that has no make no sense right now. But see, a few of these tools used in combination together. So first, I will start by using Edit Poly in an object that, let me tell you, is not a box. So I will create something more realistic. That is, I will draw a line, and I'm doing this because because this reminds me a lot when we have seen that we can import AutoCAD drawings, and we can use, in combination with shapes, we can use a modifier that is called Extrude, because this is not right now a three-dimensional object. This is 2D. So what I will do is, I can't apply Edit Poly right now because this is a shape, but I will use Extrude, and I increase the amount. So now my shape is three-dimensional. Okay? Ready for this? Now, after applying Extrude, now I can instead apply Edit Poly, because look, my main goal here, I will just make a sketch before. My main goal is that I want to create this part in here, because I want to tell that this is my floor plan that has been extruded from like an AutoCAD drawing, and I need to create this missing part, because that in reality is a door. So it's not just a complete hole that goes from floor to ceiling. How can I do this? So, for example, I can use Edit Poly. I can select edges, and by using Control C, I select this vertical edge, and with Control I select this and this vertical edge. So I select basically those two vertical edges that I have in that hole that for me is the door. And I will use first tool that we've seen today, that is called Connect. By selecting these four vertical edges, Connect will create this and this horizontal edges. So I click OK. But now, just because I have these two additional edges, they are selected, and I can simply move them a little bit up. Why I needed to use Connect as a first simple tool? Simply because by creating more edges, if now I see my polygon has been split in two polygons here and two polygons there. So I can now go to Polygon Editing mode, and I can select this, that is my top smaller polygon. I will press Control, and I click here to select both polygons together, that they are facing each other, and then I will click Settings next to Bridge to get this. Poof! This is what Bridge does. Okay? And if you click OK, boom! You have created that missing part that you needed in order to turn that hole into a door. Okay? Uh, I want to show you another example now. I want to show you an example instead of using connect, inset, and extrude, so that we will see that, I mean, all these tools can be used in a completely different combination. You just need to find a way, I mean, your own path to use them all. But see this other example. This would be fantastic. But see this. I start by making a box. I mean, nothing complex, nothing impossible, just a box. And what I will do here is I apply Edit Poly. So that I can use all these beautiful tools that I've seen now. And once that I have applied Edit Poly, what I do as a first step is I will use connect. So look, again, I select these two only vertical front front edges. Ready for this? Because this will be unbelievable. I click connect, but this time I will create at least four new edges. Okay? See this. I click OK. In this way, my front polygon only has been basically divided into smaller pieces. And look what I will do now. I will select polygons, and I select, as you can see, this smaller polygon here, then this, and that. So I select all these 5 continuous polygons. And second step that I do is I use the tool that is called Inset. So I click Settings next to Inset. But look, because all my polygons are attached together, if I just use Inset and I leave the option that is by default by group, I will obtain this. And I don't need this particular adjustment, while I have to select Inset by polygon, because I want each independent polygon by being offset as a single object. So I click by polygon, and now this is what I get. Okay? So I make a very small inset. So something like this, something that leaves a very small part of my final polygon, and I click OK. So right now we have used 2 tools to obtain this. We have used connect to split my front polygon into smaller elements, and I've used connect in order, connect, and then inset to make those smaller polygons inside. Last step that I will use will be I will use Extrude. And as I said at the beginning, I will use Extrude, but instead of using Extrude with a positive amount that pulls polygons out of my geometry, I will use Extrude by giving a negative amount, so that in this way my polygons will be pushed inside my starting solid. Then I click OK, and boom, believe it or not, you have created a phenomenal, great looking bookshelf. So now, if I turn off polygons, I can instead select the bookshelf, and I can start placing it inside my small room. Okay? Till here? Maybe yes, maybe no. Let's see. No answers. Fantastic. I shocked you. I mean, probably you are. Oh, finally, some vital signs. Okay. What else I can explain? First of all, because this is a little bit challenging, let me show you exactly what you have to do as a homework number 6, because this would be, I mean, just fantastic, let me say. And the homework that you have to do is already on the server. So if you just go normally into the server that is our Google Drive server, so let's say you go to the server, then you go to Marco, exactly, Marco, 3D Studio 1, that is our folder, and then you will find a folder that is called Homework 6. And in here you will find something that is particularly interesting, because you will find pictures of I think there should be 5. There are 5 different chair models. So there is this chair here, there is this chair here, and for this one in particular, I have more than one picture, so from completely different angles. Then there is this simple chair, again this one. There are also plans if you want to use extremely precise dimensions. Then there is this chair here, and then there is this slightly complex stool in this folder. So which is your homework? Your homework will be very simple, very easy. You are 100% free to choose 2 of these chairs, and without any particular tutorial, without any particular set list of tools, you need to model 2 of these chairs and choose the 2 that you want, doesn't matter, but you need to model 2 of these chairs inside one file, so that when you will upload your homework will be just one file containing both 3D models. Then, wait a second, then I will answer to your question. But now that I was in here, let me finish the explanation of the homework. Then I will start answering also questions. So again, what you have to do as a homework. So let me write it here. To do, you have to choose 2 of these chairs, and you need to make your 2 chairs in one single file. Is that clear? First of all, for the homework, is it clear what you have to do? Tell me yes. I mean, or tell me if it is not. Let me see the chat. Okay, homework is clear. So let's answer the question. So let me see first if I got the question. That is, let's say you have something like this, like a cylinder. Then you want to cut this shape in here, and you want to extrude it, but you want that the extruded result, like the hole that goes down, is a conic shape and not a cylindrical shape. Is this the question? Or the question is, we start from a cone and then you want to obtain this inside. So case 1 or case 2? Let me see. Yes, for what? 1 or 2? I mean, technically, by the way, it would be the same because both of them, I knew that. I mean, but also is exactly the same. I mean, while I was drawing, I realized that the way to do is exactly the same. So check this. First of all, we can see how many things we can do. Look, we can start from a cylinder. We can start from a cone. Let's make it more interesting. So let's start from a cylinder and look into the cylinder. Can you see that you have this. You have radius, we have height, we have a lot of things in here that are called segments. We have studied only sides. There are these vertical elements, and you may notice exactly what happens when you increase or decrease them. But what is interesting is that you can also see that there are height segments that we may need to modify if we don't need them. And maybe there are also cap segments. We won't use them also because we need these to be our face that we are going to inset and extrude. So this will be a good starting point. But now check this. Look, I apply Edit Poly and see how simple it becomes to manipulate the geometry by knowing really a few tools. The tool that I will show you first is I will simply select this face, and what I will do is I will use Inset to make an offset, like this. And simply because my starting shape was a circle, my inset shape is also a circle. Second thing that I will do is I will extrude, and because I want to push this face inside the solid, I will use a negative height, so it will go like this. Okay, till here. But what we have now, take care, is this is a cylinder, so these lines are basically perfectly perpendicular, and because they are perpendicular, even all of these are perpendicular. So we have a cylinder inside another cylinder. What we want to obtain at the end instead must be a cone that has another cone inside. So which is last step that we have to do, because it is too simple, you won't believe your eyes. But last step to do is simply we keep selected this inner face, and we simply use scale to scale this inner face. So if we make it smaller, basically by making our inner face smaller, all selected edges will follow this adjustment, and my hole will become, instead of a cylindrical one, become a conic one. And same thing can be done to turn our cylinder into a cone. So I can select just this bottom face, and I can simply scale it down to make my object becoming a cone. Then I can, I don't know, I can move it. I can do whatever I need, whatever I want, but basically by transforming and by moving, scaling things, I can really create my final shape. That would be a cone with a conic hole inside. Oops, it would exactly. Okay. Nice, I know, isn't it? Using Edit Poly, it is basically first interesting tool that you will start discovering into 3ds Max that will really let you understand that in 3ds Max you can model whatever you have in mind. Edit Poly can be used after making Pro Boolean. Edit Poly can be used after using Loft, after Extrude, after Lathe. I mean, it can be used every single time that we have 3D objects. So believe it or not, starting from now, we will start having no more like limits and problems in having a certain shape in mind and understanding which particular tool we need to use to create it in 3ds Max. Okay? Do you have any additional questions? Because I don't want to explain other Edit Poly tools too fast. I prefer to use next week class in order to explain more detailed informations. Remember also, I will leave this video in this channel that is a dedicated channel that is because you have seen that now all teachers have their dedicated channels. So I will leave this in my channel. I will put also into the video description, I will copy the link of the folder that you have to use in order to upload your homework. So you can watch it and watch it and watch it, this video as many times that you need, and you will find this very useful, I think. Also remember, if you can't follow live your stream right day of the week, just remember this: I make 3ds Max classes that are more or less very similar, starting from Monday. Let me change the color. So here, 3ds Max classes are Monday 9 to 11, Monday 11 to 1, Wednesday 9, 11, Wednesday 11 to 1. So in all these schedules, you will find me live, and especially you will find me live in my 3ds Max classes. And starting each Monday, they will cover same topic. So starting from Monday, Wednesday, you will always see same class. So you can make me questions and so on and so on. Okay? Because if you have no more questions, this will be everything for today, and I will just need to close the live stream and save it on the channel. Let me see if you have more questions. Let me check the chat. Perfect. Have a nice days too. And just in case, I will be live streaming in 10-15 minutes for my next class. But for now, ciao. And I will stop the thing here. Bye, everyone.